Fighting unconscious bias in the workplace. Questions that would be answered. What's unconscious bias? Why is it important for me to be aware of it? How can my team and I overcome unconscious bias? Connect with me via WhatsApp, +234 703 247 4726, to get more interesting videos. Please, to support our ministry, remember to like the video, and also find it in your heart to subscribe to our YouTube channel and then gently tap the bell to turn on the notification, so as not to miss out on the next videos. For the most part, we know what we like and don't like. We prefer this type of food over another type of food. We love this song, but can't stand this other song. Being conscious of our likes and dislikes can help us make informed decisions. But sometimes our likes, dislikes, and the reasons behind our decisions aren't so cut and dry. Imagine you're going on vacation, and you need a house sitter who will also take care of your dog, cat, hamster, ferret, or any other beloved furry companion. Let's find a trustworthy person who can take care of this for you. I'm ready. Unconscious bias is normal. Everyone experiences it, and it happens naturally without us knowing it. Unconscious bias occurs when deep-seated attitudes and beliefs, which stem from our backgrounds, cultures we were raised in, our life experiences, and other personal factors, influence our actions and decisions. Our brains actually need to do a certain amount of unconscious processing. We receive 11 million bits of information in any given moment, and we can only consciously process 40 of them at a time. So, our brains find it easier to use past information and learnings to assess current situations and make quick decisions. This can be helpful in situations like, don't touch that red coil on the stove, but it also can have its downsides. For example, unconscious bias can often result in harmful snap judgments of others based on their backgrounds, ethnicity, gender, age, name, and other factors, aka stereotyping. Listen up. Good news. Once you're aware of unconscious bias, you can start to overcome it. First, check how it affects your work and work culture. Then, confront your assumptions about your industry, user base, and more. This will help you take steps to stop unconscious bias from creeping in. Second piece of good news. Overcoming unconscious bias can improve your work output. Removing unconscious bias can help you produce better marketing, come up with more creative ideas, find better ways to reach your customers, and build more innovative products. That's because it can empower you to 1. Build the right team. You can make sure your team has multiple perspectives. 2. Shape the culture. You can foster a culture that inspires a high level of creativity. 3. Set universal standards. You can promote an environment that advances employees based on the same set of standards. 4. Monitor practices. You can check for bias in the practices of those who collect and interpret marketing data for you. By challenging their unconscious biases, Google found a way to make an already popular product, the texting emoji, even more user-friendly. More than 90% of the world's online population uses emojis. But, even though there are a huge range of emojis, initial emoji offerings didn't highlight the diversity of women's careers, nor empower young girls. For example, emoji men played sports and wore construction hats. Meanwhile, emoji women painted their nails, got a haircut, and donned wedding veils. Google designers noticed this gender bias, and decided to rethink their assumptions on how people of all genders self-identified. Since then, not only has Google created a wider range of professional and recreational emojis, but they've made many of these emojis available as men, women, and gender-fluid characters. Listen up. Just like Google's designers, you can lead the charge against unconscious bias in your company. whether you're reimagining products or promoting bias training. You can also take steps to reduce unconscious bias in day-to-day operations, too. Let's see how. The first step is to check how much unconscious bias affects you, your team, and your company. A good way to evaluate this is to look at your output. That is, check the results and outcomes of your critical business decisions, and see if there are any signs of bias in them. For example, a major decision might involve staffing, and you notice that a job posting has attracted mostly men. Or you might realize a marketing decision resulted in an audience or user base that's mainly from one age group or ethnicity. Don't rely on your observational powers alone, super-powered as they may be. Use surveys and focus groups to find out whether your colleagues view your organization as fair and inclusive, or if they have any concerns about bias. Next, look for moments in the decision-making process where you can add standardized procedures to help protect against unconscious bias. These procedures can be added to your hiring process, the way you set up meetings, how you conduct user experience research, your approach to creativity, how you manage your personal views, and so on. Creating these procedures usually involves making a universal checklist of steps that you and your colleagues should take when you're in situations that could be affected by unconscious bias. As an example, let's say a company wants to safeguard their hiring process against unconscious bias. They can create a step-by-step guide that details what to consider and what not to consider when evaluating potential employees, and give it to human resources, hiring managers, and anyone else involved in the staffing process. Their do column includes looking at candidates by their professional qualifications, focusing on the positives of a candidate versus why they might not fit the organization, and asking the same questions to each candidate. They also suggest widening the candidate pool in case there's bias in how job seekers are sourced. And they recommend services like Blendor, Gapjumpers, or Unitive that will remove info from applications which could cause bias. Meanwhile, the don't column might include evaluating candidates individually with no comparison to each other, or assuming how suitable or skilled a candidate is, based on their gender, ethnicity, alma mater, hometown, etc. Once you've added structured procedures, and put your work environment and colleagues on the right track, it's time to check if it's working. Collect data on whether there are actual changes in the business areas affected by unconscious bias. You can also look at areas with analyzable data, like compensation, promotion rates, and performance management ratings. Compare your data results to where you were before you added your procedures. Is there more diversity among people that you're hiring and promoting? Is your company more inclusive and your meetings more productive? Take note of what's working and what isn't. It's okay to not get things right the first time. It's all about experimenting and testing until you land on successful tactics and practices. Do this now. Now that you know unconscious bias can affect any part of your business, let's create a list of areas where you might need to address its effects. Sounds good?